Coming up, you'll be taken through the If You See Kayfabe files to see some of the great guests that have graced these virtual studios. Now, if you haven't already seen these interviews, here's a playlist with all of them that I've procured for you. Your task is to get stuck into the comment section, not cough, but nominate your favourite story and or storyteller. But first, I have a story of my own.
If you see kayfabe, join your wrestling mate, Southern Joe, to watch this episode of If You See Kayfabe.
G'day, wrestling mates. This is yet another edition of If You See Kayfabe. I'm your wrestling mate from down under. I'm Southern Joe. Now, as I mentioned before, you'll be presented with an array of great storytellers who have all enhanced various episodes of this show. Now, the funny thing is, just over the main gist of this show, nutted out in my head, a story that's right in line with my credo of humanizing pro wrestling, not sensationalizing it, comes into my lap like manna from heaven. Now, basically, I'll never clickbait you, never start swearing like a warpy, or betray my beliefs. Now, even if that means I'll never reach the dizzying heights of Jim Cornette or Busted Open Radio, well, I'll be like a certain line from my favourite song, Sultans of Swing. He's got a daytime job. He's doing all right. Now, last weekend, I went to the latest live event of my fave promotion, that being Alpha Pro Wrestling. After the show was finished, I hung around to catch up with various wrestlers and assorted wrestling mates, and like we always do. Now, as I'm getting ready to go home, Alpha Pro owner Mike Manson asked if I would give a lift to one of his trainees to the train station. No problems, I said. I'd seen this young guy busy helping around where he could throughout the show. It turns out he's been training for a solid amount of time, but he does have some challenges. Now, I won't go through what they are, but this pleasant young lad is determined to overcome those obstacles, even though some people told him he would not be able to do so. Also, he is about to do a tertiary course in a related subject. But me, I'll be cheering him on when he makes his wrestling debut. Now, this show has been going for about 2.5 years as this episode's being made. Now, I got to thinking about all the great stories that I've heard. Some that I've also heard elsewhere, but some of the stories that I only know of from If You See Kayfabe. Now, the first real breakthrough interview that I got was with one of the legends of Australian wrestling, that being Ken the Dazzler Dunlop. Now, Ken shared tales about working in England, especially getting into trouble for not doing the Big Daddy spot the way Big Daddy liked it. Ken's ultimate respect for the business shines through even as he relays his own challenges in coming out as Australia's first openly gay wrestler. Now, if you're looking for amazing stories in wrestling, look no further than Justin Race. He was privy to some of the most unbelievable tales as he and his mum travelled the world with his father, who was no less than the 7-time NWA World Champ and legend of the sport, Harley Race. Now, I'm hoping to speak to Justin again soon, once his book, Don't Tell Your Mum, comes out. Speaking of books, how about the two distinguished wrestling authors that I've been blessed to talk with? There's Evan Ginsberg, who told many stories about his friends that were top stars in the business, as well as his associate producer role in the Oscar-nominated movie the wrestler. There's also Keith Elliott Greenberg, who penned the book about the formation and first 5 years of AEW, and he had exclusive backstage access for that. Another with backstage tales, but not a wrestler, was Kiwi-born Aussie lady Barbara Goodish. She is the widow of the famed wild man, Bruiser Brody. Now, we were sensitive about the behind the scenes of what happened when her husband was killed, but it's also a captivating, in a non-sensationalist way, story. Also, the story about how they got together is a classic wrestling tale. There's even quirky stories, pardon me, like the quirky Mike Quackenbush, he being the co-founder of Chikara Pro Wrestling. Now, there's also quirkiness in the crossover from wrestler to filmmaker to funeral director. That's the package you get from part-time indie wrestler Wade Simmons. Now, as well as that multi-talented lad, here in Australia, I was blessed to speak with Matty Wild. He's an Aussie wrestler who used magic during his matches. He is now a full-time magician known as LJ, and I had the pleasure of conducting his last ever interview as Matty Wild, where we even had a watch-along of his last ever match. Now, footage of that match was provided to me by the son of Alpha Pro Wrestling owner Mike Manson, and he also dropped into the If You See Kayfabe virtual studio and was yet another great storyteller. He enlightened us all with how he started Alpha Pro Wrestling and its subsequent revival. One of his regular wrestlers, who also had a bit of a revival, was a young fellow named Josh Redfield. He told us all how he lost his love for the business, but his love was rekindled when he was invited to an event. Hear his story. It was a really good chat. Now, one of this show's great gets as far as influential wrestling people go is the chat I had with legendary SICW promoter Herb Simmons. Herb has had over 5 decades of promoting experience and recently held a wildly successful FanFest 4 weekend in Southern Illinois, USA. Now, what has surprised me as far as interviews go is how fascinating the stories are from those wrestlers that some refer to as jobbers. These are the guys that help make the stars by working with them on TV matches and putting them over. My most recent interview in this genre was with one of the most famous of all the prelim guys, that being Mario Mancini. Oh, happy birthday for the other day, Mario. My fave of his story was about Vince catching him trying to chat up some ring rats near the dressing rooms. Then there's Uncle Billy, a.k.a. Bill Pearce, a.k.a. Chris Michaels from the OG ECW. And that was a 2-hour hoot. And I'm looking forward to seeing video of him stepping back into the NYWC scene real soon. And it was a real pleasure catching up and getting to know prelim wrestler and wrestling mate to many of the greats, Casey Thompson. Loved his stories of sticking it to Vader after some in-ring potato farming by Vader, as well as almost getting to work a match with the one and only Hulk Hogan. Speaking of in-ring, Casey also hosts a show with the most underrated wrestling commentator of at least the last 50 years, Kevin Kelly, and that's called the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast. Now, like Casey, Kevin has also told his best stories from working with all the best companies here on this show. Now, I have to thank Casey because on one of their shows, he gave the best compliments I'd ever gotten. He said that where Casey said he saw my interview with Kevin Kelly and found out something he didn't know about one of his closest friends, Kevin Kelly. Now, one of my greatest thrills was being their guest on their year-end roundtable show, where I felt that I got to be more than just a grinning jabroni with a headset on, a la the guy who paid bulk money to sit at the WrestleMania 42 commentator desk and not say anything. Now, if you have a good look at the thumbnail for this episode, you'll see one name that hasn't been covered off. That is Bret the Hitman Hart. He was at StarCast Ballarat 2 years ago, and we had a meet and greet with him, which he kindly let us film for our show. He was very giving with his answers in the 5 minutes, and I'd love to do a full interview with him, but he doesn't qualify as a full interview at this time. So there you have it. Please share this show with all your wrestling mates, but please leave your comment. Who was your favourite storyteller of this lot? What was the best story you heard on this channel? And if you know a wrestler who would like to have a different type of interview, one that's positive and fun, let me know. Now, seeing as though you're already here, I've got a playlist of all my interviews. So, jump into this rabbit hole now.
If you see kayfabe, join your ass